thanks for coming today. Today I'm going to talk about a graduate trip that I took to Asia, its purpose, and the places I visited and what I learned while I was there. The graduate trip that I took to Asia, when we went and visited Seoul, Korea, Shanghai, China, Hong Kong, China, Bangkok, Thailand, and Singapore, Singapore. The purpose of the trip was really to just experience the culture and to learn about how that culture actually conducts business both locally and internationally, especially within the U.S. The first country that we went to was Seoul, Korea, and while we were there, one of the businesses that we went and visited was E-Machines. They actually make home PCs as well as business PCs. And while we were there, we actually went to the manufacturing plant and also met with the president and CEO of E-Machines. And they just kind of talked about their philosophy there and how they do business. It's interesting because in Seoul, Korea, the business there is actually a pretty tight and close society. So they generally only like to do business with other Koreans. But in the scope of business to business, and knowing that in order to grow their business, they would have to make other alliances with other companies to be able to export their products outside of Korea. So with that, they do have an extensive marketing program and working with like Office Depot and Office Max and distributing their products here in the United States. It was pretty interesting. They are, again, a very close society, and but yet at the same time, very open to doing business because commerce, again, makes things go there. So it was interesting to talk to them. They felt that Americans were very, how would you say, just very arrogant individuals, I guess you could say. And so with that, they were very cautious in their approaches in working with Americans, which was an interesting insight to get. While we were there in Seoul, Korea, we also went to a museum, and with that, toured around some of the ancient palaces and museums there to kind of get an idea of what the culture was like and where they were founded. And it was a beautiful place to go see. The next city that we went to was Shanghai, China, and while we were there, we went to some gardens there, and it was interesting in Shanghai to see how commercialized it was. Thinking back to my first experience in going abroad, I was thinking that, especially going to a communist country, that there would be a lot of closed doors, a lot of police or military around and things like that, and I actually found everything to be to the contrary. There was a lot of commercialization going on. Found a Pizza Hut, found Coke on every corner, found Pepsi on every corner, found Kentucky Fried Chickens, anything and everything American you could find there, which was pretty fascinating and pretty eye-opening for me. While I was there, we also went and took a subway ride, which was pretty nerve-wracking for me for the first time, especially not knowing any Chinese or being able to read Chinese. Taking a subway and not really knowing where I'm going, but just kind of getting my bearings visually was kind of a challenge and kind of nerve-wracking, but yet it worked out well in the end, and it was a great experience. While we were there in Shanghai, we also met with some MBA students, and that was an interesting experience. They were very inquisitive as to the politics, the political side of business, and asked us a lot of questions, whereas I think we as MBA students asked a lot of questions of, well, what's it like living here? And so from that perspective, it was a little different because in a way we felt like we were being interrogated, but at the same time we weren't. It was a very open discussion. It was very eye-opening too. The next place we went was Hong Kong, China. And Hong Kong used to be owned or occupied by British rule, and within the year before I was there, British rule was actually relinquished to China, and it was interesting to see how the government was still trying to struggle between a lot of the I guess, your commercialization of the economy versus the strict rules or commerce guidelines that they had set before. Hong Kong was very much like a downtown Manhattan. It was really pretty, but a lot of lights, and it was a neat place to visit. There we toured the palace and just got a glimpse of kind of a, I guess you could say it was, again, like a Manhattan, New York experience, downtown business district, mixed with Las Vegas. So that was a great place. The next place we actually flew into was Bangkok, Thailand. And while we were there, we went and visited a company called Seagate. Bangkok was really, really hot, temperature-wise, and really, really hot, humid, sticky, and everything like that. So, but while we were there, again, we went to Seagate, which they manufacture a lot of computer hard drives. Similar to that of Seoul, Korea, their business model was still very much closed, but at the same time, very open to business with other countries. It was interesting because while we were there, we toured around the plant, and you could see that workers there, the conditions were very nice, and the workers that were working there, you could tell were making a very good wage. The interesting thing behind it all, though, was that these individuals weren't making very much. They were making anywhere from 20 cents to $1.20 an hour. So a whole day's wage, they could probably take anywhere from $10 to $12 home, and which isn't much. But the people there, you could tell that they were happy that they had a good, steady job with a good company, and anyways, that was a pretty eye-opening experience there. The last place that we went to was Singapore, and while we were there, we actually met with a company that was an exporter-importer, and found that a lot of the Asia companies that do business from Seoul, Korea to China to other countries in that region actually funnel a lot of their products through Singapore because of customs and regulations. So it made business a lot easier, and they wound up keying themselves really on being a major exporter, importer of all types of projects that go in and out through to Asia. Singapore was a very pretty city. One interesting note with them was that their city rules were very, very tight. It's a country that is known for a lot of very different rules. One rule, for example, was no gum chewing, and if you got caught chewing gum, you could be fined anywhere from $250 to $500 just for chewing gum. And reason being is they wanted to keep their city clean, and they wanted to make sure that people didn't put gum underneath the seats on the trains, or have any concern of a person walking down the street stepping in gum. So anyway, one of their kind of quirks, but at the same time, out of all the cities that I went to, you can definitely tell that that was a very clean city. I guess my takeaway from the whole experience in going to Asia and visiting each one of these countries, I would have to say that even though the cultures, people's looks, their backgrounds and lifestyles may be different, the basic essence of the experience is the same, and that was that people are trying to do the best that they can with what they have, based on what they know, in order to live the best life possible that they can live. So anyway, that concludes what I've got to talk about today, and thanks for coming and listening to me.